Meeting of the Hubbardston Select Board to order, meeting on March 3rd. And remind everyone that this is being digitally recorded, so please be respectful of each other when you are speaking as well as when you're listening to someone else. At this point, I would ask Kathy if you'll call.
Yeah, we'll call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order at 6:31.
Okay.
And Ahmed is joining virtually as we speak.
Second.
If I can admit him, just admit Ahmed.
Alright, so this part of the meeting will be acting as committee of the whole, and I'll be chairing it, kind of deferring to Nate's presentation, but I'll try to keep it so that everybody who wants to have questions or speak gets a chance, so are we ready?
I'm old and blind.
Okay.
So it wasn't just,
I can see that.
it wasn't just.
Which
me.
one is share whole screen?
You're on-
One down.
you're-
One more down?
Yep, you got it. Sure.
The middle one's window.
You wanna borrow these?
Maybe. Mine are in my truck.
They're not helping you now.
Sure
Blind
not.
leading blind. Why do you think I moved down here? So I can see.
It says share. Now it's Windows. Now it's the Microsoft Windows.
Oh. You have to
Okay.
pick the one screen.
Smiley.
What is it, picture?
Kelly, can you see my screen now?
Week before.
No,
Yeah. Oh, boy.
How about now?
yes, I can.
Okay,
We ready?
we're ready.
Nate, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, thank you for joining us today. I would just like to express my sincere gratitude to you for joining us, and to our treasurer collector and accountant for their assistance in the budget process. They are both here today to aid in answering any questions you may have while we talk about this. I am learning as I go, so I'm not going to make a very boring presentation. Instead, I am going to kind of lead what is hopefully a very educational conversation. With that being said, both meetings are called to order. I will bring you to my new website that I built on my own with AI. And it took a very long time to build, but I did it on my own time, so I'm okay with that. My wife has been making fun of me publicly by saying no one read Nate's 180-page book, so he cranked it up a notch. So,
He doubled down.
yeah, so we'll go from there. So this is my website. It is budget.hubbardstonma.gov. It's where you can go to look at the budget as it evolves from here today all the way through town meeting. After town meeting, I am hoping to turn it into a transparency portal for the whole year that will be updated probably once a month at first, but as I can figure out how to do it more. There are towns that pay upwards of $10,000-$20,000 for these type of transparency portals, but this falls into what my whole theme and push has been, that rural communities can do more with less if they take the time to do it. So this, you'll see a theme of that between the website and the permitting options that are being supported by this budget and a previous town meeting vote. And with that, we'll get started. First and foremost, I'd like to apologize for any confusion there was in the information getting out. The last week and a half has been absolutely bananas between moving and the budget and just all of the different moving pieces. This was very much a priority, but there was a lot going on. We will start by going down. At the website, you can utilize these buttons to view the budget overview, which we will do momentarily, view revenue details, download the revenue report and download the full budget. If I'm being completely honest, it is not currently updated because Member Monroe caught a Scribner's error in my Excel spreadsheet last night at 10 o'clock. So
It was like 8.
So I spent most of my morning figuring out how to smooth out a $80,000 shortfall. So these numbers are a little bit different than the numbers you have received, but these numbers are correct. And I appreciate Heather bringing that to my attention because it was much easier to fix now than it would have been
Later.
2 days after town meeting. So I appreciate you and I thank you all. If anyone else is reading this and something doesn't make sense at any point between now and whenever you may be doing your final review, please, please, please just reach out at any time. This budget is unfortunately balanced by approximately the same amount of free cash as we utilized last year. My goal is to bring it down. That's $144,000 in free cash. There would have to be some very serious service cuts if we did not utilize free cash, and we are not anywhere near the only community doing so. It is very challenging to operate within the parameters of Proposition 2.5 when the school and your education budget are cranking up by 8-10% year after year after year. Even this year, we'll start with the revenue. The revenue is the money that we take in. The revenue breaks up into 3 categories. Your tax levy, which is about 78% of it. Hubbardston is very tax resident heavy. It's why we are focused on expanding commercial opportunities. It's why we are focusing on diversifying revenue. It's just one of the bigger issues in rural municipalities. That is seconded by approximately $1.75 million in local receipts. That's your excise tax, your small fees, all of that stuff. We were lucky this year as our ambulance revenues are trending upwards quite a bit, and due to a policy change, the number of LTCs that have been applied for and received have more than quadrupled. Like, I think we are at, if you look at the chart, 249% of our budgeted expectation. So policy changes can make a difference when it comes to budgeting. We don't get to keep all of that. I believe it's a 75-25 split with the state on LTC charges, but still a little bit more, followed by state aid. The numbers in your revenue budget are that of House 1, which is the governor's proposal. That is what we have right now. But before we get to it, you'll notice that I am kind of trending away from talking about education and the giant portion that it is of the budget, this year being almost 62%. We do not know a real number from the school system yet. They had a change in staffing. One of their new budget director ended up leaving due to it not working out, so they brought back their previous budget director, and now they are working on finalizing numbers. I'm expecting to attend their budget meeting on Thursday, where they will give us that very early high number. So, but I have had conversations with the superintendent about how the 8% that I am projecting in my budget proposal should be okay. Like, there was no verification, but there is not a spot for us to really hone in on that because the information is not available. The information within budget that we do have available is that there is an 11% increase in our Monty Tech assessment. Our Monty Tech numbers went up by 3 kids, so it jumped the assessment by just under $40,000. That is offset by the fact that last year 5 kids went down and it was a little over $90,000. That softened the blow for the large increase that was in our Quabbin Regional School Systems budget, but it still didn't make for feel-good times. Yep, Peter.
Question.
Yep.
So what do we do when the school budget gets to the point where if they're going up 8 to 10% a year and we're only bringing in revenue at 2.5% plus whatever, local receipts, what happens when that evens out? Or they go above what we bring in?
They're $50,000 over our net revenue this year. But
So,
unfor- it-
and it's
it
only
eats-
gonna get worse.
Yep, and it eats into the other portions of the budget, and that is what we've been talking about. And unfortunately, and 2 years ago, Nate would have said, it's their fault, they are doing something wrong, but when you know better, you can do better. It is not necessarily their fault, there is a hard time for them as well. The state is not increasing funding or making it very easy for rural school districts to compete with the urban cities and the Boston suburban areas.
Yeah,
But long story short, you squish the smaller
Yeah, but
ones.
they don't cut back, like if we cut back and can't give raises, they still
Right.
give their contract raises, 3.5%, 4% time every year,
I'm right there with you, Peter.
so.
Preaching to the choir, I've made my opinion known. I was at, Patricia represented the community at the, what do you call it, the regional agreement meeting.
Yeah.
And I wasn't supposed to be talking, and boy, oh boy, was I talking a lot.
That's
So,
good, I like that.
Yeah, and Patricia was able to make a couple of good points.
And it falls on deaf ears as far as I'm concerned, so, cause when's the last time a teacher got a 0% raise? Or a 000 in the contract?
The amount of interaction that we've had with the new superintendent and her counterparts is significantly more than our first
I
year.
understand that.
So there is progress.
Okay,
It's not necessarily resulting in savings, but there is certainly
So that-
progress in,
so the Quabbin school system could definitely bankrupt this town within the next 5 to 8 years. Or 4 to 5 years, as far as I'm concerned.
speaking of that, there's my Hubbardston dollar. I took some time to make that.
So, I mean, if we're looking at projections, I mean, I'm not a math whiz, but if you can project their 8 to 10% out over the next 4 to 5 years, in our projections, that's where you'll see.
So that's right here. My projections over the next 5 years have the budget going from $6.7 million to $8.7 million by FY30. That does not keep pace with anything else. You can notice right here that the annual increases are always going to be right around the same, slightly more.
So the school's gonna be outpacing the town's revenues in
Every
5
year.
years.
They've been doing
Every
it
year.
for years.
They have been for 10 years.
Been that way
but
for years.
To the point of where you're gonna lose staff.
Yes, like unfortunately, with lobbying, we've been talking to the state. I wrote a letter to the state.
State's
talking-
useless.
Talking about how I was under the belief that the school should have their own Proposition 2.5 area, so that the town could learn to function on their own and the school could function within their own little parameters, but that is not of interest to people. And
Can I make a few?
we could sit here and
I
talk
know you
about
can
school.
you can talk about schools all night long, but if you're gonna have progress, you have to change. And in order to change, you have to take a stand. So, I think that it would be wise to consider an audit for Hubbardston, for our, I'm gonna round it off to $7 million. Where does it go? And you wanna know where every penny is.
Were you on the email that I sent out last week, that when they sent us their big audit?
That wasn't, yeah, but that's theirs.
I know.
Nobody is taking care of us. We have to take, like, the school committee should be involved with you on I mean, they should be letting you know what goes on monthly, because that's their job. They go and they vote all this stuff in.
I
They
will be attending the
represent-
budget subcommittee meeting on Thursday.
Right, but
Likely- likely via Zoom.
They
because-
represent us, so we have to give them responsibility to come back to us and tell us I won't vote for a budget if I don't know what's, we have. You know, how do you do that? It's not working.
And we haven't been presented this year's budget yet, so we
Right.
don't know what we're working with, other than that it's going to be expensive.
And no, you know, no teachers or students involved in any kind of budget cut. But their, what is their staffing? What do we have doubled up? There's got to be,
Well, the state just added more staff to schools, right, for special ed, they made it mandate.
Well, that's part of the problem, is the state mandates,
But they don't pay,
exactly,
right,
which they're supposed to,
well, they don't.
and they don't.
But
This
they
is
just-
why elections have
They
consequences,
just
but
passed
everybody really needs to
$425
pay
million for
attention to
something very
elections.
special.
No, you
but
can't
there's,
just keep
there's all
voting on
kinds
things,
of,
people.
I mean, there's tons of questions you can ask in the budget to
Right.
cut it.
Sorry to get off track, but
And,
it's just, it was on my-
where's the DEI money? It's gone, so
Well,
do we
so-
still have the staff there? Why do we have the staff if we don't have the money to pay them?
They're still following DEI.
Hold on.
In this
I'm s-
room,
I'm
your
sorry,
sentiment
but-
is not falling on deaf ears, but I do feel like this might not be the opportune time to
Right.
discuss it. We don't have enough data
Right.
in front of us regarding the school at that time. At this time, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to talk about the school budget when we do have that information. I am anticipating something like them to tell us 15 on Thursday night. I tried to downplay and made a small wager with Katie last year, and she won. So.
We're close to that last year, yeah.
So Nate, did you say Thursday night is just a public information session for the school, or their public hearing?
Their budget meeting, but it's not a public hearing,
Okay.
but they
It's not a
are
hearing.
going to be releasing their first rendition of the
Oh,
budget,
boy.
which will likely be a high bar assessment.
So it's probably a good one for folks to attend when you can, and if they allow public comment, those are great questions to ask. I've been waiting for my detailed budget report for 2 years.
I think so, at
But-
least.
Remember, you have a school committee that's responsible to give us the information. They represent the town,
So then,
so,
And they, just in the name of fairness and not upsetting people, they're not here to defend themselves.
well, right, but I mean, I'm just saying that we need to align our committees
Absolutely.
to be, you know, to
I-
communicate better.
I think when the time
I'm not
comes for
saying
us
they're
to
not.
figure out when we get the
Hold on,
number.
you're talking at the
I'm
same
sorry.
time, and Chris, you had your hand up almost when we started, do you still have a question? 'Cause
I agree with someone who said this isn't the time or place for this conversation. I think that's further down the road when we get more information about it.
Yeah, 'cause,
Yeah, it's
we're trying to
projected
get through a
as-
budget,
Right.
and this could take an entire meeting and we'd have none,
But the school is our budget.
right?
And I'm projecting 8%.
Right.
And I've spoken with the superintendent who said that was a
Oh, good.
fair
No,
projection.
no,
It may be, I'm trying.
I'm right there with you.
Mike,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road, through the chair to the town administrator. Where, in those categories you put up earlier for revenue, which category encompasses pilot? Is that under the state aid, or is that under the property tax group,
Hold on.
or?
should be local receipts.
Doo-doo-doo. Revenue details. See,
I thought there were 4 categories
Right
over
there,
here.
right there,
Yeah.
nope,
Early.
Go up,
right there,
go up.
up, right there.
pilot is right here.
Well, I see the line item, the label pilot, I see that.
Local receipts.
Local receipts,
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you, Heather.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
While we're here, we should review this. All right, let me. I can't see anymore. I'm gonna
Do you want me to
stand.
go get your glasses out of your truck?
Nope.
Okay.
It's gonna, you need like a little pointer.
I do need a little.
I'm getting you one.
Oh, you're right now?
Make sure it has a little
Clicker.
pointy finger on it.
Do you have a mouse though?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, our top amount right here is the tax levy at $8,770,191. That is a 2.5 increase on top of last year's, and this, the Scrivener's error that I had made was including this here exempt debt for the school building into that number earlier. So when Heather pointed out that that was not the correct way to do it, I had agreed because I knew that, and went and checked out my formulas, and lo and behold, there it was. So we had some budgeting to do this morning. The Proposition 2.5 is 2.5% of the tax levy, which is the maximum a municipality can raise their taxes each year. New growth this year was just certified at $134,215. I have it in at $125,000. I do feel that that is on the high end of conservative. Not necessarily a point where it's risky, but I would love to make that number 100,000 and know that we have more money coming on the back end as free cash or a rainy day fund. But yes, Heather,
Did you clear that number with the assessors in the building department?
I cleared it with the assessors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they felt confident that 125 was okay?
Yep.
Okay.
I will clear it again because the assessor that I cleared it with is no longer our assessor. So I will make sure to rope Steve, our new assessor, who is doing a great job, in on the conversation on Wednesday when I see him. The debt exclusion for the school roof is the same number each year, $82,377, bringing our subtotal for taxation to $9,196,823.36, almost all of our budget. And that is a headache that Hubbardston has been dealing with and many rural municipalities have been dealing with for all time. And it is exacerbated by the fact that getting economic development is challenging and economic development opportunities are challenging, and increasing taxes is challenging. So we kind of have to pick our poison. We're going to have to pick a path and go that route. That is why I'm excited to be looking into the commercial district changes with the MRPC, to be looking into sand use feasibility, and just to be looking into the 21 Gardner Road parcel across from the Curtis Recreational Field, all grant funded. We were able to utilize our part-time town planner's time to receive some of those grants without putting matching monies forward. So that is a positive, and those are all steps we are taking to ensure that we can bring in some business, some appropriate business. My part joke has been, we're not looking to build a Walmart on Mount Jeff, but there is some opportunity within this town to take the burden off of the taxpayer. You know, the taxes will never be cheap. They'll never be cheap in any town. But it does not have to be a 90% burden on the taxpayer, and I'm hoping to lessen that during my time working with you.
Nate,
Yes,
the school roof, that goes until what year?
a long time.
So is that number projected to stay flat, or did we do it so that's going to go down over time?
It's
It's not-
flat as of right now unless we redo it.
Okay.
Because we don't have permanent borrowing on the school roof yet at all.
That's right.
So we'll know more when we do get that. The MSBA paperwork has finally come in.
Yes.
Kelly and I signed the MSBA paperwork last week. So, and that project took place 6 years ago, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on taxation?
So is that payment on the roof only for, is that an interest payment? Or is it?
It's a band payment, a bond anticipation notice payment, and that's the temporary payments we've been doing every year. Mary's had to do more paperwork than.
So is that paying down principal?
It is principal and
Yeah.
interest.
Thank
yes.
you.
Up next is the ever-riveting state aid, mainly supported by unrestricted government, general government aid, affectionately referred to as UGA, because why not? And all of our numbers here, as I stated before, are backed up by House 1, which is the governor's budget. It is anticipated that those numbers will change. I'm sure in the governor's inner circles, they already have changed. The House is going to be working on their budget. The House of Representatives was just this week naming committee chairs, so they'll be able to get to work now and actually do the work of the people. So that will be good. Abatements to veterans and the blind, state-owned land are all within the House 1 budgetary confinements. Veterans benefits and exemptions, I've been saying for the last couple of years that we have had a limited number of veterans that apply for this type of veteran benefit because one of the qualifications is that you cannot own your own home. There are not many apartments in the town of Hubbardston. There's not none, and if we did have veterans applying for that sort of aid, we would need to give it, and the veterans agent is available to assist with that. But for now, we have 0 veterans applying for it, so there is a 0 on our return, because it takes them usually a year to a year and a half to get the money back to you. The towns pretty much front the state, and it comes back around. Offsets for the library, and our subtotal for the state aid is $741,547.01. That 1 cent is very important. All right, any questions on state aid? All right, our local receipts. One of our strongest and biggest numbers in local receipts is motor vehicle excise tax. I have it at, I believe, 7.5%. This is based on strong growth the last few years. It's not something that we can necessarily point to at this time because they're all due now, so our numbers aren't available. But if in 1 month's time it's showing that we will not hit those numbers, we'll taper that back a little bit to ensure that we're being realistic. Interest and penalties, that is $21,748. Right now, we have 41% of the budget. When I say right now, I mean as of 1/31. The dates that I'm going off of in this chart are from January 31st. We will update them every time I get a revenue update from the accountant and the treasurer collector, and every time we update the revenue and the revenue percentage gets higher, we will have more assurity in our budgetary figures. Interest and penalty excise tax, watershed division trust pilot, that's the money people like to talk about quite a bit, because it is the money we receive from the state for being very, very utilized by watershed land. It is approximately $400,000 a year, $391 this past year. With the new assessments, I am anticipating it to go up. We've been in hold harmless a few times the past few years. If we get any word that that is not going to be going up, we will lower that amount accordingly. Any questions on that? That's another topic we could talk about all night. Ambulance revenue, we're at 80% as of January 31st. A lot of this is the amazing work done by the chief in his merry band of firefighters and paramedics. It has been on the rise for a little bit, pointing to increased need. The availability for the nightly stipend has also helped in that regard. Chief, can you speak to any reason as to why this is trending high, or anything that you've noticed in the last year?
The only thing that is I think the stipend helps because we are having more coverage on the overnight, and it has, I think, a direct effect on it. Other than that, I'm not sure why, because I don't think that justifies the whole amount that it's going up by, but call volume's up also too, so I think between the two of those and maybe some other factors in there, that's
Yeah.
why it's rising.
Yeah, and we wanna make sure that we can support the ambulance employees within the town, because the other communities that can support Hubbardston also have to support their own community and be there for themselves. So anytime we can take the call, I'd love to see us take the call, cause that increases aid in the community, it increases service, and it increases revenue.
Chris, go ahead.
Nate, can you give me some examples of what, pilot not from the cherry sheet would be? What brings in that revenue?
We have, solar payments that come in that they don't pay real estate tax, so it's in lieu of. So we have a couple of solar fields in town.
Okay. Thank you.
Kelly, is there anything else that falls in there that we should be bringing up at this point?
Not that I can think of, no.
Alright, collector receipts, we're at 35%. Treasurer fees, right here, this is all of our different fees that the different offices have licenses and different services, so I won't go through every one of them. Please take a moment over the next few weeks to check this out. I will update the percentages, and this will all be live on this website.
Nate, just backing up for a second, so collector receipts,
Mostly MLCs.
so if we're only currently at 35%, are you expecting the spring to bank up? Cause that seems like we're not gonna hit those numbers.
There's no real way to know, but spring is when the market is most active, so that tends to be when they influx.
What do we charge for MLC fees?
$50, we're the highest you can be.
What's an MLC?
A municipal lien certificate.
Oh, okay, thank
You
you.
gotta clear it when you go to sell.
When you do title research to sell
Okay.
your home.
I'll roger that.
So if we're at 35% now, we're what? Just shy of 15,000, give or take?
Possibly, yeah. It's been a lower year just in general, there haven't been many sales in the town, we're kind of in that lull again, whereas last year we had a higher influx.
It just seems like a really high number of over another 40 sales to get us that $21,000. Just voicing my concerns about the number piece there. I understand, we can always adjust things later, but the problem is if we start too high, and
Yeah.
then we can't get to that number, and then we're gonna have a problem because the revenues aren't gonna be there, we're gonna have to do substantial cuts on the expenses to balance the two out. So if we can take a look at that.
So geez, we're in March now,
This is,
This is only up to
That's a
January.
so you gotta
1/3.
get 65% of the rest of that
And I did, I
in
just
then
turned
4
over,
months?
we only had, 250 come in for February, so they are lower this year.
And it does ebb and flow based on the number of sales, but I would say that if we're already hanging out at only hanging out 35% come January, that we're not gonna make up the difference.
We're in trouble.
Which is,
Yeah.
fine for this year, but for next year's budgeting, the other thing we need to keep in mind, and Nate, you and I talked about this earlier, and I think Kelly will appreciate this, is that if we stay too high on the local receipt estimate and you guys go to do the tax recap in the fall, and we didn't actually hit last year's actual number, and then this number is equal to or higher than that, we're gonna have trouble justifying it, we're gonna have to adjust things, so we wanna make sure there's leeway somewhere that you guys can play with the number to be able to get it there.
I agree completely.
That is so true.
But I think your leeway is on investment income.
We'll get to that one in a minute, Seth.
Okay.
Yay.
I think that's low.
Police fees, fire fees, highway fees, Board of Health fees, assessor's fees, clerk fees, alcoholic beverage license, dog licenses,
Sorry, alcoholic beverage license, we upped the fees enough, multiplied by the licenses we have, okay, cool.
Yep, I did the annual report today and was pleased by the number.
Okay, cool.
miscellaneous licenses.
Building permits, Nate?
Yeah, what's miscellaneous?
No, I wasn't worried about miscellaneous, I was
I
more
am.
concerned about 50,000 for the building permits, if
We
in January we were at
have
29.
random onesie twosie licenses that some other towns don't have, that we charge for. And
Really
they go
funky
into,
things.
we have, so most towns actually don't charge any conservation commission fees whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
We
Yeah,
do,
Thank you.
so they go in there.
There's a number of little fees, your entertainment licenses.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The, what do you call it?
Auctioneer
that the
license
that the
and
chief
stuff like
has,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Hawker peddler.
Yes.
Hawker. Two.
Building.
Building, this is my old sheet, and I did fix a lot of what you found with building. And we'll look at it and see version 2 may be very different here, cause the version that I had sent to you yesterday was much more balanced, but not wanting to take anything out of personnel or road materials or anything like that. I cut the fluff that I could, a little more paper, a little more supply lines to justify this new $80,000 that I had to find today, but by no means is this final. Like, so please take this as a true proposal 1. I was in a little bit more secure of a spot 24 hours ago,
But I
but,
had an extra 80,000 that wasn't there.
yeah, but for now.
I know it's my fault, but.
It's not your fault, it's a good catch.
But for now, we'll work on,
So if we can just take another look at that, cause if we were only at 29% at the end of January, getting to 50,000, unless we have a booming building season.
Yeah, they're not
I
building
don't know if
houses
we're gonna
this
get
year
there.
like last year.
And it looks like the year before that, we only had, ended the year at 27,000.
yeah, and then the other two things.
We'd up the fees, but you know, we're not gonna make the difference that far.
Yeah, no, I agree, and you'll notice I'm gonna wait for my next revenue numbers to make a real adjustment. Like, some of this was to get us to this conversation this evening, and I'm being completely honest about that. I didn't want to cut from the expense side to be able to have the conversation. So we'll get there. I do believe that whether one of these goes up a little bit and everything goes down, there's leeway throughout the whole schedule. The other two things here that jump significantly are our earnings on investment and our miscellaneous revenue. The miscellaneous revenue is where we put, the select board has recently entered into a settlement with a company that will be giving approximately $36,000 a year. I am going to check with the DOR. Because it is a 3-year, 2.5-year deal, I believe we can put it in our miscellaneous revenues, but I am going to confirm that. That jumped up right there and would be helpful within the budget. If we cannot utilize that, that will turn over as free cash. We received our first $5,000 payment last week. That is really all I'm willing to say on that in public session.
Nate, just a question, can I ask Kelly a question? Kelly, did we have any, miscellaneous non-recurring revenue for FY '24?
We did. Give me just a minute and I can tell you.
I'm just curious, it's not something we can budget for, but something nice to know what it's comprised of.
Right.
And if there's anything that could be reoccurring. A lot of times there's reoccurring stuff that you're not allowed to budget for, but it lands there. And if we get the no from DOR, that's where it lands, which helps new growth, but doesn't help the budget piece.
We didn't have anything significant. You know, there's nothing huge enough to really say, yeah, we did.
Okay.
There was a little bit, but it's just odds and ends stuff.
Okay, anything that's
And then
coming,
non-returning.
anything so far to date for '25?
Let me look here, I can tell you that. Yeah, we do have something. If you want to give me just a minute, I'll have to sign in to Vadar to look at it. If you just want to give me, you guys can move on and then I'll let you know.
I have a question for Mary on earnings for investment. So to Seth's point, my only question, Mary, is there anything that's changed in our cash balance in the bank, like paying out the rest of ARPA or anything else that's reduced the balance that's been sitting there for a period of time that will decrease the amount we're generating in investment income?
No, I actually opened a CD, so we're on the better side of our investments at this point.
Excellent.
So I've got a little bit more that I'm holding in one area.
Okay. That's my only question, Seth.
It's not a big one, but it's something.
Hey, it's better than nothing.
That's exactly it.
It all adds up.
All right, up next, we will be speaking about expenditures, and our key investments and priorities are public works and infrastructure, planning and land use, modernizing town operations, and public safety. That's revenue sources. This is how the department by subcategory breaks down. You will notice that the school is the lion's share of the budget, followed by public safety at 13, followed by liabilities and assessments at just short of $1 million. And followed by Public Works, who was very proud to tell me today that prior to the public safety budgets combining, he was the largest budget. So I talked to him about that today. General government at 6 and some change %, debt at 1.2%. That is a point that the Finance Committee Chairman brought up on the, I believe, town meeting floor. This town is not, I'm segueing into a conversation, but this town is not utilizing enough of its percentage of debt that it should be. I don't know what number it is, but we have a policy on it. And by not utilizing an appropriate amount of debt, it would be the same as an individual having no credit cards. Like, your credit can get dinged for that, as it can get dinged for having too much debt. So that will be a conversation that is going to start tonight and likely be a long conversation that brings us through the spring.
Well, that's gonna change anyways.
What?
Debt.
Debt.
And just,
Yes, Kelly?
just to let you know that the significant amount that I thought it was, we had to send out. I had forgotten about that. So
The Ashby
we again
check.
don't have very much there.
The Ashby check had to go right back out.
Yeah, yeah.
So, years and years ago, the town entered into a CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, deal with the town of Ashby to assist a town resident with their home. I believe it was a refinance or something like that.
There's multiple ones that we have,
And
yes.
that person sold their home and had to clear out a certain amount of money for, to use round numbers, let's say $10,000. We went back, we thought, oh, yay, $10,000, this will be free cash, good. And then we looked at the contract and had to send it directly, do not pass go, do not collect $200 to the town of Ashby. So we have a number of these deals with the town of Templeton, the town of Ashby. I don't particularly know if there's more, but they are few and far between. And it was,
What are they called?
Community Development Block Grants.
And they're at the end of their cycle. We've got about 2 to 4 more years on most of them.
It's more popular with like storefronts, but residents of a certain income bracket or age can qualify.
So, is that like the Habitat for Humanity house?
No.
So it's a different.
It's a different-
Same,
it's-
same idea,
yeah.
but.
It's more about
Okay.
banking than it is about assistance.
And it assisted our resident, not us as a community.
Okay, thank you.
we're going to go department by department. I ask that if anyone has any holds on a department, they raise their hand. And if not, I will just continue talking because I enjoy it. General government. Moderator. Moderator is held steady at $100. Select board, the executive assistant. 2 years ago, we brought the line down when the previous executive assistant did not want to fulfill all of the hours. That is something I am looking to bring back. Patricia has gone above and beyond in almost every way, and we've kind of had to rob Peter to pay Paul to make it happen, utilizing some land use funds last year, utilizing cable this year. I would like to just do it correctly. So I put her entire salary in that line, the 26 hours that she would be working. There are some cuts across the board in office supplies and that type of line item because we are aiming to move a lot more of our services into optimized e-services and services that you can come and do here at Town Hall. Well, this isn't Town Hall anymore. They're at Town Hall. All right, any questions in the select board budget? All right. Town administrator, it's a 3% contractual raise that was negotiated earlier this year, a level funded cell phone stipend, and an expense line that I requested to increase, but I then denied my own request. So, I'm a tough judge. So, oh no.
What did you do?
Any questions on a total of 122,166? Any questions on the town administrator's budget?
So postage, we went from 1,000 to 4,500?
Yeah.
Or we
He's
just?
taking everybody's.
I'm taking everyone's
Oh,
postage.
okay, you're
Yes.
centralizing.
We're
Okay, we're okay.
centralizing.
I was like, what do you plan on mailing me?
I'm gonna mail
Everything.
everyone.
Send people through the
I've
mail
changed my
again.
stance on paper. And
Okay, yeah.
no. Finance committee, no changes, $200 for their dues, $30,000 in finance committee reserve fund. That is, I've worked in communities that do not have that, and I think that is one of the better things that this community has done. The charter and some of the smaller things like the finance committee reserves are brilliant ideas, and a lot of the reason Hubbardston is able to succeed in the way they have been despite a tremendous amount of opposition. The accountant is pretty much the same. The assessors, there is a increase in their line, but it is contracted. You'll hear me talk about it later too, the Administrative Services Coordinator is 3 positions that are combined together. It is the former land use clerk, the assessor's clerk, and an assistant town clerk. This has, in less than 6 months, justified itself time and time and time again. We do have a good incumbent in the position, but even if it wasn't this person, that position is still very much worth it. There's no more, where is Concom, where is land use, where is assessing? There's a full-time employee down there with a name who can help
With everything.
with constituent services. So that is the little increase right here. Over the next couple of years, I'd like to get it back to the 20,000 that it was a couple years ago, but this unfortunately wasn't the year to make that jump.
Nate, couple quick questions on that?
Yes, ma'am.
So if that person turned over, we would still keep it where it's one person who oversees those 3?
And it's a fairly compensated job.
Okay. Are we creating any administrative burden for that individual or for payroll, the fact that we're paying them out of 3 lines? And would it be advantageous to put them like as a municipal assistant position, take out that reference in the 3 departments by itself? No?
On the payroll side, it's not an issue.
Okay.
And they get to skip big budget jumps.
Well, it's just, the other reason is, when we pull something apart, right, people can't always see that that's one person, they have to go and read something else. When you put it as just, you know, this municipal assist and parentheses, here's what they cover, they say, okay, Susie makes $10. As opposed to, hold on, I don't know, let me pull out the calculator. So, just food for thought, I don't have any needs to see a change, just wanna throw my thought out there.
Treasurer collector, the biggest difference in there is the merit-based increase we gave to the treasurer collector at 2 meetings ago. She has more than earned that with her investment strategy and being here. She is a part-time contractor and was redoing kitchens last week, so we'll.
Very talented.
Thank
Very good at wallpaper.
I saw that.
Right?
you. A little bit of everything.
Very good at everything from what I saw.
I'm trying.
The new assistant treasurer collector has been with us a little over 6 months and seems to be a great fit. Her and Mary get along wonderfully. Expenses and dues, it's all the same. Here is a good amount of that difference where we are moving postage from being in every department to being in the select board account. It is just, it's been a burdensome task for Patricia and Kelly to have to go back and
See who
basically
spent what.
front the money
Move it out of
from the
each.
select
Yep.
board account, go negative, figure out who used what, bring it back.
So it's all done by one machine now?
Yep.
Yep, we
Instead
have
of-
a postage machine and, so I run a report every month to see who's using what.
Excellent.
And then, they request obviously a bump in money when they're gonna do a big mailing, like either the assessing office or the town clerk is doing her census mailing.
Census, yeah.
So I know in advance, but sometimes every once in a while, some fluke thing will happen and I'm requesting every 2 weeks, $600 worth of postage, so,
Just to keep AP going.
just to keep AP going, so I mean,
And centralizing it makes it a lot easier if, say, one-off, the Concom had to send something, we don't have to tell them, oh, no, you can't send that dollar piece of mail, so. It's an effort to centralize and just create efficiencies, not, we were sending people across the street many, many times before the postage machine. IT does jump a bit and it's due to our e-permitting program. There was an increase in the CM Geeks contract that was contracted when we renegotiated with them 2 years ago or last year. And it does jump, this is going to be a line that you're going to see over the next 10 years, not balloon, but increase steadily due to the amount of reliance that's going to be coming in that general direction. Not just because I enjoy tech, but because that is the direction the world is going. We're getting a new website. The new website will be ready. I really was pushing them to have it ready by town meeting. So I'm hoping that the end of May, the new website will be out. The first round of what I've been calling the Hub Connect permits will be going out this week. That will be, well, Dogs is already out. But this week will be building, electrical, and gas, all going out. They're all back-ended by a, what is that called? It's a system, do you remember the name of the Microsoft program?
Microsoft 365?
It's
No.
like the access side. Soft.
It all automates itself. So when a permit comes in.
Power Automate?
Power Automate,
Yes,
that's,
Power.
good job. So Power Automate is running a lot of this. There is minimal actual interaction with these forms and permits, and it is anticipated that if done correctly, we can save a great amount of admin money. I make the point of saying that it is not to get rid of people, it is to do more and allow staff to do things that may be a little bit more interesting than permitting and licensure. We are also looking into ways we can utilize this system with the accounts payable and warrant process, which can sometimes be timely turnovers. It's something we're gonna be looking into over the next year. We'll keep you in the loop as we do that.
Hold on, Nate, 1 second, please. So the permitting and everything else is coming out when the new website comes out, all the new permit, is it already out?
Before, we're gonna do a push of it all when the website comes out
Yeah.
as like a connected
Package deal.
package, but it's gonna be rolling out slowly. The permit, the things I'm looking to do after this week and after this move and after this budget are a C-click fix that I've been calling Hub Fix. There's a wrench on the logo. The AP driveway permits and a couple more. It's going to be rolling out with about a year. And I will take this time to announce that I found out 2 days ago that we did not receive the whole $100,000 grant that I applied for to pay for all of that and the meeting room, but we did receive the $23,000 that will pay for the rest of that system, freeing up the $20,000 that was allocated at town meeting. That will need another town meeting vote to repurpose that funds, but there is $20,000 right there for a rainy day.
So, somebody building an addition, they can do everything online without
Yep.
coming in? Supply their pictures or their prints or
Yep.
whatever, and then it's on-site inspection after that?
Yep.
Okay,
And it goes to like all the right people
Okay,
and you
thank
can
you.
see where it gets stuck, so it's
Right.
good.
And
excellent.
that's where I've been talking about the ability to locate bottlenecks, and, because if we know that something needs to go to the treasurer collector's office, conservation, and then back to the constituent, and it spends 2 weeks in the treasurer collector's office, we know where our,
Is there, in that system, you know, you don't want somebody waiting 2 weeks, but in that system, is there something to advise somebody that it's been sitting here for a certain amount of time?
for this,
Reminders.
those are called ticklers.
We talked about this.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yep, no, those are called ticklers, and they came up at our last meeting.
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
They've
It all
been
went
around
kinda
for a long
sideways.
time.
No, maybe I was thinking about getting tickled.
Town clerk is a regular line.
Only one question on that, Nate. So we budgeted 4,000 for the election wages for 26, and we did the same for 25 when there were more elections. Do we need as much for 26? Cause there's not as many scheduled elections for 26 as there were for 25.
I had originally had that at 8, so, because we were going to break down the administrative services coordinator even further, but this morning we brought it down. I can speak with Mel, she did request slightly more than that, but I can work with her on that. Building and maintenance, this is where a large-scale increase is going to be coming. There is a requested, I believe, $14,000 increase here, and a lot of it is shifting the rent that we were paying at 48 Gardner Road over to taking care of 48 Gardner Road. We brought on a facilities maintenance custodian, and I can't point, and it is working out, and I am hoping to see us be able to utilize that person and these extra monies to make sure that we are being proactive with our buildings and our facilities and not reactive, as the previous owner of 48 Gardner Road was, and as the town of Hubbardston has been with our facilities for many years. There is also a little bit of a buffer built into there in the event we somehow ran into owning another building, but that is to be figured out later. Any questions on building maintenance? Public safety, any question on police? The police chief's contract, we are still negotiating. I am hoping to bring it forward to you at your next meeting. So that may change, but I'm hoping it doesn't. the police is a contractually negotiated and signed 1% increase. The jump down here is the body camera maintenance contract. The chief will continue to apply for grants for that, but we have to pay for it from somewhere in the event we do not receive said grants. Any question about the police budget?
Nate?
Yes, sir.
The shift in wages, I'm assuming the union did not negotiate a 1% COLA. I'm assuming it has to do with staffing changes. in
I
lower amounts.
negotiated a 1% COLA.
Wow, good for you. Well, not good for them, but good.
The police department at the time of negotiations was very senior heavy. So there was a sweetened, kind of that side of things.
So is the overall cost increased 1%, or did they truly get a COLA of 1%?
I got a COLA of 1%.
Okay. And we had a police officer just leave, is that because of that?
No. The police officer was able to receive a position in his hometown. The said police officer also was a finalist for a sergeant's position last year. I don't think it had anything to do with pay. The former Hubbardston police officer was one of our heaviest workers and constantly in the highest earners in the department, so I do not think so. He was one of the two people I negotiated the contract with. He is the reason that there is a 10-year step, and which was one of the biggest bargaining chips to the 1% COLA.
Okay. Thank you.
The contract is available on the internet if you would like to read it. Fire, any questions here? The biggest jump here is there was a recently negotiated contract, and the monies from 48 Gardner Road ambulance lease space are deducted from this line. Any questions?
Last year we had, the chair, last year we had the 15,000 special article for overnight coverage. Is that built into this budget now?
It is my intention to put that up in the same fashion as we did last year as a article on the warrant.
Why wouldn't it be built into the budget when you're showing the revenues there? Because it's paid for itself.
Good.
I would assume you would, if it's working, you would continue it year after year. So why shouldn't it be shown in the operating budget as a permanent expense? Because if you put it as an article, you're most likely going to be taking it from free cash. Or some other source, so.
Can I have a straw poll of hands with no actual weight that I put the $15,000 from the annual town meeting warrant into the fire department's budget instead of putting it forward as a warrant article? Anyone who's in favor with Chair Knight, please raise their hand. All right, I will.
So Nate, the other thing to add to that is, based on what I'm looking on the printout you guys did, it looks like the fire department budget actually went down 1%. So to Seth's point, I think it's very arguable to, in a good way, to put it in based on the increase of revenues on the other side. You know, we really wanna make sure that, you know, if we're increasing the intake of ambulance receipts, where we're not a community that has the benefit of a dedicated ambulance receipts for stabilization fund, to put it right there, that we wanna isolate it to make sure that we are putting it back towards the purpose of providing the ambulance service.
You're investing back in the service.
Yeah, and that's what you wanna do, whether it's gonna be through people or through stuff.
Right, exactly.
Right. Budget V2 will likely have something like that.
We'll look forward to it.
Any other questions on fire? Chief, anything that you would like for the good of the order?
Negative.
All right, thank you, sir. Land use. The biggest jump here in land use is the continuing part-time salary of our town planner. It is, I believe, $15,000 to $17,000. In the next version of the budget, I do believe I'm going to break that out into administrative services coordinator and town planner, just for.
So it's 2 people?
Yeah, it's 2 people.
Okay.
Yeah. A part-time planner, and we've already been able to utilize, I think I already said this, we've utilized the town planner's time to get grants. And those grants go above the $20,000 that we paid for, so net gain so far. Supplies is the centralization and decrease in paper. Emergency management level, animal control, 2% contracted. Tree warden is always one of the budgets I dislike doing the most, because this town has such a large need for outside tree services, but there's just nowhere to fund that. So we're very fortunate with the number of utility-sponsored projects that have been going on the last couple of years. Because when you're 90 miles of roads in the woods, trees become an issue.
That's
Nate?
good.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I just, you went so fast, I missed emergency management. On that one, emergency planning expenses, so it's not a large budget in the first place, it's only $833, we reduced it down to $500, was everyone on board with that? I know the requests were higher.
She didn't use it last year.
Okay.
So, the only question I have is, we know there's a lot of trees out there that need to come down. Is that something we just don't worry about until they fall? I mean, we don't really have the money to be proactive, so you wait till they fall and hope they don't hit a car on the way by, a person?
And we apply for
Grants and whatever.
every once in a while, there's a nuisance tree grant.
Yeah.
Heather had sent me one last year.
Oh, really?
Put
Okay.
in
Yeah, I
for,
mean,
like, they're,
like the roads, you can only do so many when you can do them.
whenever someone calls, the tree warden can usually work with them if someone is so concerned that they're willing to foot the bill. That has happened in the past.
Okay, all right, we'll worry about it when it happens then.
It's unfortunate, it's something I wish we could be.
No, I hear you, it's just, when you're strapped, you're strapped.
Dispatch is going to be a little bit higher than that, but that was my working number when I published the budget. I believe it is currently at 6.2. It was significantly higher than that, but we had a meeting, and after that meeting, the Rutland Town Administrator was able to have conversations to lower the assessment projection.
Amazing.
We also met last week to discuss the potential move to a district. That is something that will be coming forth to the select board in the coming months. We will loop the finance committee in on it because there is a financial obligation, and the finance committee is town meeting's voice at the table. So we will ensure they are part of that conversation. Yeah. Any questions on the school budget?
Yeah.
No.
Flush it.
Public
Wait till they
Works,
really
I'm
close
making
up.
a exerted effort to try to get the road maintenance line to back where it was a few years ago. We've unfortunately had to make some decisions in the last couple of years that we didn't love, but the goal is to get them back into that $70,000 range between this year and next year. Other than that, the DPW increase, the DPW director's increase was approved a few meetings ago. There's a 2% COLA in all of the employees. DPW wages was negotiated at 2%. DPW assistant works mostly under the cover of darkness, but she is doing a wonderful job. Her name is Wendy.
So, they're back at full staffing, right?
Not
Depends
yet.
how today goes.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet?
They're down
Okay.
one, so.
We
All
had
right.
2 people come in and start the process.
They
Okay.
are
Yeah.
fully onboarded as of right now. They start work tomorrow morning. They are going to bucket truck training class.
Excellent.
So,
They're missing some key paperwork, but
It's all right, it'll follow.
Which we were.
Yeah.
I appoint them and then the select board ratifies that appointment.
it was an emergency basis.
So, select board, I would anticipate that we will see 2 names on your March 17th meeting.
Hopefully they're both for appointment and not anything else.
I let Tricia borrow my strong chief.
Any questions on the DPW?
No.
Snow and ice?
Yes. You can't drop it down. Mass General Laws requires you to fund it equal or higher each year in order to deficit spend.
Even this part?
You can't drop down the snow and ice bottom budget. You
Even
have
this
to-
part?
Yeah,
You can't
snow and
drop
ice.
down the snow and ice bottom
It's an
budget. You have
MGL,
to.
isn't it?
Mass General Law, chapter
Snow and
44,
ice,
section
yeah, that's the
31D.
same.
But
You
that part.
can't drop down the
can't.
bottom line budget.
Nothing to do with snow can you drop.
So why is that even under towns, why can't that be in?
Cause I cut 87,000 out of the, revenue, so he was chopping.
Yeah, but can't you put the
No, that,
private
as you
ways
know,
thing
before,
somewhere
because
else?
no, because the private ways was funded by town meeting.
But it's not, it doesn't matter that's the private ways, it matters that it's funded within the snow and ice, but all it's,
Anything in your
delete,
423 line.
yeah, delete snow, the private ways thing, zero it out and just put the 2,100 up in winter wages or services, it doesn't matter because you're a government function bottom line budget, so you can move it, this is just an exercise. But yes, I
You
totally
can either do
agree.
that,
What's that, Kelly? I talked over you.
you can either do that or leave it as a special article and just do a special article every year for those particular private ways. And since they are private ways, that might be a little more transparent to the, community that you are paying and doing those roads.
But I still don't think I can do what I'm trying to do right there. By taking the $2,100 out of the line. I think I still have to put it back into snow and ice
Yeah,
per,
just delete that line moving forward and put it in services, winter wages, supplies, materials, it doesn't matter where you put the 2,100, your bottom line has to be equal or greater than. You do not wanna lose the ability to deficit spend snow and ice and push comes to shove.
But to answer Nate's question, he's right, he can't take the $2,100 out.
so.
Correct, but he can not put it in plowing private ways and anything future
Yeah,
for
it has
private
to
ways
stay
can
in
stay
this
as a
line.
special article.
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't associate that with snow and ice, I would just have that as a special article.
So that number's a 3-year contract? Aren't we
As a special
contracted?
article, Yep.
3 years? Okay, so
And-
you're stuck for 3 years.
And Mary and I are still working on that. but
Tree.
There's deaths and attorneys
Yeah.
and
Okay,
money
so-
and families.
I mean, the good news is at the end of the day, it's $2,100 and I'm pretty sure Travis could use the $2,100 for snow and ice and many times I'm sure we get close to going over. So I think even if you have these separate,
Depending on the weather, this year may be one of our first requests in a long time to deficit spend.
So
A lot of ice.
if in 2 years, because this is one of the years, in 2 years, we don't have any private ways to plow, that can't come off as snow budget.
No,
It
we're gonna
has to-
take private plowing out of the budget no matter what, but what the point Heather was making, and I thought, cause I knew that we couldn't deduct from snow and ice, but I
Yeah.
thought it was just this part. Like,
Just
the
the
actual
wages.
part that says snow and ice. Like, I'm now kind of frustrated with whomever put that in the snow and ice budget, because they,
so some towns actually do increase their snow and ice budgets, right? Most of us though, increase it by about $1, $1,000 or $100 a year depending on whose sense of humor it is that gets interjected.
Hubbardston has for the size and for the job we're doing, that snow and ice budget is, I was shocked when I first got here to see how
Right.
decently
stretched.
high that was.
Well, you gotta go by the road mileage, that's
Because
what you gotta go by.
most communities
Yeah.
cut it pretty slim in their
Yeah.
snow and ice because you can deficit spend.
Well, right, and then
Well, the roads.
why put the snow and ice budget up here when can't decrease it every year, right? So you start out low.
You need to spend more.
Right, and back several years ago, whoever did the budget then put this, you know, my guess is that they had a really high year, so the next year they budgeted enough to cover it and didn't realize that they couldn't reduce it.
Right.
I did talk to the DOR last year about this when I was at school, and they said that you can lower it, but it's a roll the dice. If you lower it that particular year, you couldn't deficit spend. So if you got to the end of the year and you had to spend more money, you would have to have a town meeting to appropriate the money to spend it. But then you would be in a better position where the next years you wouldn't have to do that. That would be the only way to try to help the town to not appropriate so much for snow and ice each year.
But it means $2,100, that,
No, big snow and ice.
The big
Oh,
No, the
picture.
full,
Yeah.
yeah, but,
the full amount.
yeah, but that plowing private ways is only $2,100. They, most of the time, I imagine,
Right.
can easily absorb that in their winter wages through a
Right.
couple storms or a storm and a half of OT.
Absolutely, no, that,
But isn't plowing the private ways a contractual service? It's
Yes.
not an actual wage line.
Contractor.
Yes.
It's not,
Right.
It
It's
is,
not
but
us.
it doesn't,
but we're paying Jim out of the special town meeting line that was
Oh,
approved now.
yeah.
That's why I tried to completely cut it,
I
because
see, yeah.
Travis had been, that was the whole deal.
Yeah.
That Travis had been paying for the
Yep.
plowing of
Out of
Plum
his
Tree
budget.
Lane
Oh.
out of his budget arbitrarily for
Yep.
really no reason for the last almost 10 years. Came to the select board when they were reviewing the policy on plowing of private ways, and you kinda said, hey, what the heck is this? This policy says the opposite of what I'm actually doing in practice. We brought it to town meeting approved Plumtree and another street. So now those are line items that are being paid out of those STM special lines, and this is going to be added back into the budget in likely winter wages.
yeah, but the good news is, he asked for 238, we were giving him 233, so this will give him 235, so closer to happy.
Something like that.
Hopefully
Alright.
we'll just own Plumtree.
Snow and
that
ice.
could come up.
That's my
Sorry, didn't mean to go down the hole there.
Streetlights. Cemetery. Human services. Claudia wanted a increase and a, what do you call him, outreach worker, but it, unfortunately, it was not in the cards. I did, however, want to ensure that we gave the senior center director a very well-due increase with our salary survey last year. She had proven to be one of the most underpaid employees that we have, part-time or not. She was very, very, very below her peers in the region. The senior center punches well above its weight class, and they do a lot of benefit for the community,
They do.
so.
How many hours is her position?
16? Do you know exactly how many?
Depending on the week, she can go anywhere between usually 16 to 30. Some weeks she's here quite a bit.
Is she part-time benefited?
She's not
No, and
benefited.
she's here more than she gets paid.
So, yeah, I'm talking her pay period. I'm sorry, Heather, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, I do everything in a pay period, so.
that's fine, no worries. So the increase there is consistent with the wage and class chart?
Yes,
And is that one step or multiple steps?
multiple.
So, just a potential piece, so her hours fluctuate and she's still under 20 hours regardless. Instead of giving her several step increases, why not increase the base part-time hours, number of hours worked?
I believe that's what we did. I'd have to go back and look at the actual,
Okay.
like, I think we did up the hours.
Okay, so you did both, you upped the hours
And
and
the pay.
increased, but how many steps did you go up?
I will get you that answer.
Okay, thank you. it's just, it's gonna be a question that someone might bring up, is it's an outlier of 15%, the next highest before that was 8.
Veteran Services,
What's the, training expense? Is that for the veterans agent?
Yep.
Okay.
Culture and Rec, Library. The library assistants were given a increase based on the salary survey last meeting. They, again, another one punching well above its weight class. The library does a lot in the community. We're actually held to the bottom line here too, to receive state funding. I actually tried to do the same thing as I did in all of the other departments with moving the postage and kind of creating some surplus space in their supplies line, and it would have brought us too low to where we would have risked the state funding, so we didn't do that. Any questions? No. Recreations, that's porta potty. Ag, $300. Historical Commission, $200.
Question,
Yes.
Kelly, have they used those funds in the past couple of years? Cause the year to date I'm looking at, it's not showing any of the 3 or 200 being utilized.
None,
They haven't used them in past years either?
no.
So were they asking for something specific?
Nope, just the $300.
So I
They
guess-
submitted requests for it.
But I guess the thing is, right, if it's not for something specific and we're getting to the point where, you know, we're looking at how do we make up the $2,100 we now just put back in the budget, there's 5.
Right.
What was that? Historical and?
Debt. Any
Historical
question-
and ag.
Thank you.
Any questions on debt? School roof, fire truck. That's it. That's what the town has debt for.
Right now.
Right now. We won't pay for the building until.
Liabilities and assessments. Worcester County's going way up, our.
Really?
Yep.
Yes,
Why do they keep going up?
because of the audit, when they do their annual audit and they have to break it out through the entirety of the Commonwealth, the appropriations just get split out. And just like everything else, it's going up. And I'm not an actuary, so I don't know if Heather might have a better explanation
what
other
are-
than how.
So let me say this, I mean, how much money are they holding for investments right now?
I don't think anyone at this table can tell you the answer to that question in the room, but I think they're
It's
working.
gotta be common knowledge,
I think
it's
they're
gotta be out
working,
there.
I think they're working to be fully funded,
Yes.
right? Just like whenever we talk, and Nate's covered this quite a bit, we've talked about other post-employment benefits,
Mhm.
right? And then we talk about, well, if you go that route, then you take up the liability that you're supposed to actually be in good faith putting money towards it, so you can eventually fully fund that
So
plan.
that's why they're going up percentages and percentages.
Right.
Have
And
to
Similar
get to
but
that point.
different, that's,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, and I think they have so many years to, like 2031 or something,
get
they're
there.
supposed
They
to
have to be there much closer.
Okay, all right, thank
Yeah.
you.
Is that right, Kelly?
Yes, it is. And it's always the off year that it goes up even more because they have to do the actuarial study every 2 years.
Yes.
So the 1 year is a little, we don't get as much of an increase, but then boy, when they do it the next year, that's when we pretty much all get hit with the higher.
I wish we had an unemployment reserve, but we don't, and that's been that way for several years now. Health insurance is anticipated to go up. I have it at 8, but we have not received our full numbers yet. Other communities are hearing numbers slightly north of that.
Or double? Are you confident with talking to our health insurance broker that that's the number?
She's not given me any insight at this time, but I have talked to other communities and I'll say numbers I'm hearing as much as 18%.
Ouch.
Yep.
On
A good,
ins-
so I don't,
insurance?
well, I guess
Insurance,
round
yes.
two, you'll update that, but I haven't seen anything, someone just did a survey on one of the listservs the other day, and there wasn't anything south of like 13.
Oh my god, I mean.
I didn't have any justification to bring it either way, and we're already not really in the best spot, so.
We already pay a lesser amount than most other communities when it comes to it, so.
Well, we have less employees, probably, that's why.
Right, and we buy into the school's insurance, actually, we don't have it directly through the town here.
Do you budget for one extra family plan a year, just in case someone jumps on mid-year, or?
We do,
Okay.
yeah, try to do
Yep.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a
And
bunch of
grand
people.
total,
Can you imagine what we do with money?
$11,827,047. Budget one. Any questions? All right, thank you. And now the fun part. Capital improvement plan. The capital improvement plan that was presented on January 6th, or something right around there.
We have something on there? We have paperwork?
You do.
Last page.
It's really small right now.
In the back of the last one.
Yeah, very small print.
There you go.
Thank
I
you.
looked at the back.
In the name of time, if you wanna read fluff, go back and read my report. There's plenty of fluff, there's plenty of descriptions, there's some info in there. But for right now, we will go through the 1-year and strategic capital improvement charts. For those with limited interest on, or limited knowledge on coding, this took me a really long time to do.
Is that in the package?
Yeah.
Nate, before you start, what is
I
our
have to go
balance
out
of free
just to
cash
get
now?
back into the package.
525 minus 55,
Here we go,
so. High fours.
Is it big enough, or I can make it bigger?
Annual roads, breathing apparatus replacements, annual tech support, brush mower replacement. We're still not, I'm meeting with, you'll notice that we're not completely done the conversation with the financial advisor. A lot of this is just taking one step forward, noting that we will be bringing more information at the next meeting. At the very latest, the putting forward a article for the annual town meeting, should the capital improvement plan be endorsed by the select board and the finance
It might
committee.
just be written differently.
A storm brine applicator, a fire truck replacement, but it's a pickup truck, it's not a fire truck. Brigham Street conceptual design, one of the best ways to go after grants is to be shovel-ready for the projects, and by utilizing our own money to get conceptual designs, we can then seek to progress the projects via grant funding. There will be a grant prioritization session on March 25th here in the Slade Conference Room at the Hubbardston Science Center. We will be talking about different priorities and doing one of those fun sticker things where everyone writes on paper and then you put your sticker where you think the priorities should be. That is a foolproof way and scientifically proven way to prioritize things, so that is how we will do that.
I thought Brigham Street was getting done this year for paving.
Not
Am I wrong?
This would be the complete streets, the whole song and dance with the sidewalks and crosswalks.
Okay, so this is this year we're just paving it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, got it.
This would be a design with
Yep.
very similar to what,
Although dapper.
Don't we have a Bryan application?
yes,
Oh,
but the
here
Bryan
it used to
program
be.
has been so
They're
successful
just gonna
that
fix what
it
was
has
there.
justified
To the
a
White
second
House.
one for our other truck.
The pumpkin. patch thing. That's.
And the thought behind that
They're
is,
doing a concept, so we'll
it
find
takes
out.
one guy in one truck all day. If you put two
Right.
trucks out, you'd probably get it done in half a day. Then you have
Yeah.
8 man-hours for the rest of the day to do else, something else.
You'll notice the difference here is that in a previous version, for those of you who have read the strategic plan, the strategic capital improvement plan chart, I had tried to put a little bit of money for the restoration of this building. In my own beliefs and from a number of people, was told that that's a little bit of cart before the horse, so I took that off. And the strategic capital plan for the next few years, as presented this evening, stands as follows. A fire engine 2 replacement for $1 million. I am proposing we seek a debt exclusion this year at the annual town meeting to receive that piece of apparatus. Any questions on that,
When would the election be scheduled?
on the annual town election? Which is June 17th, 13th, something like that,
And our annual town meeting is scheduled for,
June 2nd.
okay, so we would be making the decision the month before that we're gonna put it on hold.
Any questions? That's brush mower replacement, this is the remainder of that. There is some potential movement here because of the note that I had made about the DPW truck. There is a $225,000 plow on for FY '27, which will likely be which was the debt exclusion part, but our director is currently and actively seeking another route. We didn't have enough information to bring that forward to you this evening, but it is our hope, if it had not sold already, that we can utilize Chapter 90 monies and a financial committee request to purchase a used Oshkosh truck, not Baby Jeans, to purchase and be able to push that capital purchase off for several years. And $50,000 is better than $225,000.
It says 275 here. It says 275 for a truck.
Yep. He kept saying $225 today, so I'm gonna hold him to it.
275.
We didn't correct him.
So you know, it's a $225,000 savings if this can happen, which is huge.
Yep, it's 20 years old too.
Yeah, but he did that a few years back and it's saved us. Yeah, we got a used one. And
It's an Oshkosh.
It's an Oshkosh, so it's trucking
Run forever.
A lot of them in town, really.
workforce.
And that is something we
Gotcha.
are digging into. The interest is there. I am working with the director. The unfortunate side of this is there just wasn't $50,000 to scrunch together. I think that's a good thing because it is proving that we're utilizing taxpayer funds appropriately. I would be a little nervous to be able to pull together a large sum of money for a capital project because it doesn't pass the smell test. If we were able to go to town meeting, I do believe that this type of purchase would be short money and would be a relatively light lift. But in this current situation, it is something that was kind of now or never. And we're working on it. It might have already sold. The DPW director was talking to the gentleman today, and the other party is interested but was applying for a loan. So we'll see. Public Safety Municipal Operations Complex, 48 Gardner Road, seek debt exclusion for $8.5 million. This would be over 40 years. I will have a significant amount of information very, very soon, but for right now, I just have that it is on the capital improvement plan. It is something that we are going to need to do. And I've been very public about the fact that I feel that if we as a community go for a debt exclusion for the fire truck, we are unfortunately shooting this project in the foot for some time. So it was my hope that we could lump them together or put them on separately as a investment into public safety and the future of the community. Derek Rubinoff Associates has given me the thumbs up on that number. We obviously don't project what it will be exactly, but that number is nice and round. It's within the scope that we were quoting this summer. We will have much tighter numbers and figures as we get closer, should this capital plan be endorsed and we end up going this route.
So what's the advantage of bundling the fire truck with the 48 Gardner Road project?
We can
40-year
use,
note.
we can use the agricultural 40-year loan. So we can borrow on the fire truck for as long as the select board feels its useful life is. So some boards will say 15, some say 10 because they want to pay, but because they want to pay it off quickly. If we were to take that 40-year loan, we can lump in the fire truck and the other parts. They wouldn't be the 40 years like the building would be, but they would be the useful life. And that would be longer than a traditional loan, thus saving taxpayer monies.
So we can get a lower interest rate and say do the fire truck for 25 years and the building for the 40.
Good. And I forget, the useful life is
25 to 30.
25 to 30?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
That's a lot. Almost 30
Excellent.
now.
In Hubbardston, it could be further.
50?
Yeah, does the 8.5 include the original purchase
Definitely.
price?
Yes.
Okay.
We could go 50, we probably have more.
Excellent.
Yeah, we would clear the 1.5 almost first things
Yeah,
first.
okay.
Any further questions?
Yes.
Yes,
So that brush mower, I thought we talked about a lease for that.
We did.
Is that the 150?
I'm waiting for more information from the finance advisor.
Okay.
I couldn't put it all out there because there were still variables up
Okay.
until
All right.
quite literally right now.
That's good, thank you.
We're working with the financial advisor and Derek Rubinoff Associates to get a real number, and then we'll be able to move forward with more certainty.
Okay, thank you.
And
Mike? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the chairs. Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. That 40-year loan, that's a USDA
Yes, sir.
loan, and our current federal climate, would that potentially be in jeopardy?
The gentleman that we spoke to that actually lives in Rutland and works out of Holden had no sentiment of that nature. Like, he was very much still believing, it's up in the air right now because of
Mhm.
that climate,
Sure.
but he does not think the program is going to be impacted. I jokingly said yes because of the Yellowstone conservative ranchers, but yeah, we're not anticipating that program to go anywhere under this administration.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? DPW dump truck with plow, $175,000. This and the brush mower, are not interchangeable, but there would only be one of them included in the debt exclusion as proposed, should you endorse the proposal. library ADA, I hope to apply for grants over, when you see me do this, it's not saying that we are going to split it over that period of time. It is my hope to get a grant within that period of time. That's strictly grant. High Street Corridor reconstruction is, it was our current Complete Streets application. It's my hope that we can get that with our current focus on that part of town. It even sweetens the deal a little bit more. That'll be good. Generator installation, I am working with the MRPC right now to apply for a generator at the school and a generator at 48 Gardner Road. It is also incorporated into a broader application to put solar panels on 48 Gardner Road, Hubbardton Center School, in partnership with Hardwick Elementary and a building in New Braintree. The belief is that we could apply for a grant application that would check the regionalization box and allow us to utilize economies of scale, and procurement would be easier when it's centralized. $75,000 for a booster water pump at the QRSD, the Hubbardton Center School. No. Really expensive parking lot. And the second boiler does need to be replaced. The library basement remodel, this is something that we are going to be seeking grants for. The library, the CPA will be bringing a $40,000 article forward to do the base level repairs, the painting, the patching, the getting it to a point where it can be utilized. This would obviously make it a lot nicer and make it a really great library addition, but for the interim, the $40,000 will get it to a place where the library can utilize the space.
So,
Yes, sir.
Nate, so you've got this library basement slated for fiscal year 2027. By then, with all the plans going on now, would that be solely a library, so we could
Yes.
apply for grants for the historical nature? So by then we should
Yep.
be,
See,
we should be categorized differently so we can.
Yep, and that's the utilization, that's the note right here anyway.
Now that we're out of there,
CPA debt
absolutely.
grant funding.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that means, is that they intend to seek grant funding somewhere in this ballpark.
So even though we're probably gonna still use that safe over there, it's still, they can still, you can get grants?
Trish actually did research into exactly that. So, go
That's
ahead.
why I ask, I guess.
So, the safe does not actually count because there are several rural libraries with safes in them, because they not only hold the records for the town clerk, but a lot of our collections should be within that safe. We're doing an inventory upstairs of the mezzanine level. We have several books up there that will be moved into that safe. And it is within the understanding that sometimes the libraries have the safe in them because it is the biggest building in the town center, especially in rural communities. And so that is safe. The safe is kind of like no man's land.
Excellent, thank you.
No problem.
Skate park, walking track, these are old hat at this point, they've been there. I met with the Parks Commission earlier and explicitly told them that I would like them to apply for grants in order to be considered in the capital plan for more strategic funding. Like, there are low-hanging grants for that type of project, and I, at the very least, want to ensure that we have gone for them before paying for them out of the town coffers.
And
Yes, sir.
Cool.
that would include, getting rid of the roots, obviously, also? Cause I hate to have them pave over roofs again, so. All right, thank you.
Main Street lighting, this is a project that we have prepped for, but it keeps getting pushed down. We need dark sky compliant lighting with I believe the conduit runs from the intersection to right about here. So that's where the lights would be. It would just be a small section of the street, but it would be a very nice enhancement. We'll be seeking grants for that. Town-owned land feasibility study grants. A flagpole replacement in community space across the way, which would be even more relevant after the conversation that comes after this. Grant totaling this year $11,100,000. I believe that's off a little bit because of my removal, but I think it's 10.6.
That's what you
The
have.
paper says 10 cents.
Yeah, the paper system.
And so will the website, but I had to make some choices.
Do it when you go to bed.
And with that, I am closing out my town administrator's proposed budget and capital plan for FY '26. I thank you all for your attendance and for listening to me drab on for the last hour and a half. So, thank you very much. If you have any questions, my door is always open to you. My email is always there. You all have my cell phone number. I look forward to working together with you to put forward a budget and capital plan that is the best for the residents of Hubbardston. Thank you.
Good, thanks, Nate. Since we're done with that, could we propose a motion to accept the FY '26 proposed budget and capital improvement plan as presented, and to initiate the formal review process ahead of annual town meeting?
Do you need a motion for that?
The capital improvement, I didn't know how to say this, so the capital improvement plan is always endorsed. The budget doesn't need a motion, but I didn't want to do one, we can. Like if it, is there, I can't even talk right now. There are still variables and moving pieces, so I understand if the two boards do not want to endorse something that is not finalized. But I don't necessarily want to utilize my time, staff time, all of that, using taxpayer money to get it all done and then come back and, we don't wanna do that. So I just, even if it's not a full endorsement of the plan, I would like a further acknowledgement that I should be utilizing time to work with Mary, Derek, the financial advisor, to put together some sort of plan that would be moving forward with a debt exclusion either for the fire truck, the building, both or neither. And the endorsement of the 1 years can happen later, like, it technically doesn't need to occur until we set the warrant.
So do you wanna remove from the proposed motion the budget and just make it one to accept the capital
The
improvement plan?
proposed motion is just that, proposed, so you may,
Okay.
as
Is
chair
that
and
what you would
members,
prefer?
do.
So I just, Mr. Chairman, would you accept the motion?
Yes.
I'd like-
Going rogue.
I'd like to make a motion that the boards acknowledge receipt and encourage Nate to continue working on potential figures for the capital plan for FY '26.
Motion is made, is there a second?
Second.
And second, any discussion, questions?
No inclusion of the debt exclusion, or?
There's only,
Is
so
that-
right
is that
here,
part of it? Is that
so-
part of it?
FY '26, there's the fire and the DPW and the public safety, they're all there for debt exclusion. Everything else is
Okay. So
essentially
it's all
seeking
in.
grants.
Okay, just making sure it's not being left
Well,
aside.
and I think the public safety building committee needs to meet to endorse whether we borrow before we have the architectural plans done.
Mhm.
And it's proposed, it's not a final.
Correct, yeah.
So where's the motion now?
I'll keep working on it. I don't need a motion. I'll keep working on it.
I will withdraw my motion.
I don't need a
Second
motion.
that.
We'll get this done.
All right.
The sentiment of the room during our January 21st all hands on deck meeting is still alive, and I know that. So I don't need a motion. I'm going to continue to work with the appropriate professionals and members of our staff to bring forward what I think is a fair proposal to either be accepted or denied by the boards, and therefore brought forward or not to town meeting.
Okay, so maybe we'll remove the, or withdraw the motion.
Only because I know you've been sitting here so long.
That being the case, we will, I think we need a motion to adjourn from the committee as a whole before we can have another motion to go back into open session.
So moved.
We have to talk about the whole other item.
Yeah, but
All right.
I think
Oh,
we're still,
that's for both of us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
that's how he's got listed.
All right,
Fine, never
then we'll
mind.
move
They
to the.
probably wanna participate in that.
Yeah.
I thought that was just the board, my
No.
bad. Okay, we'll move to the First Parish Unitarian Church property transfer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Get the box of words.
So, it's me.
Yes, again, you're back.
Can I take a 30-second break? I need a break for,
Okay. All
I
right.
can just go, you guys can continue with this.
As you know, we met a few weeks ago at the request of my office because we had received a letter in the mail from an attorney in Leominster representing the First Parish Church. Earlier last week, we were reached out to by members of the congregation who I'd like to welcome to the table, if you can fit.
We're fine here.
We can see everybody, or.
They're very patient.
Long story short, the letter from the attorney was misworded, and the intent of the congregation was not to sell the building, but to transfer ownership of the building to the community. Now, we have to have a conversation about the benefits of that and the way we would move forward with it. I have a meeting with our attorney scheduled for tomorrow, but she did agree that in order to do the work and move forward, that it was a good idea to get a vote of acceptance in principle. Like, it is not the select board that, or the finance committee that would be able to actually say, yes, we will take that. But in principle, we would be noting that it is worthwhile of our time for the attorney, for us, for the congregation to take the necessary steps to explore what could happen. I'm looking to speak to the attorney. I am looking to have the building commissioner go take a tour of the building to ensure that we don't have any surprises. The town, it is not an opportune time for the town to be taking on another structure. We just bought a building, money is tight, but I also feel the historic significance of this building cannot be understated, and it is the community's obligation to do something with this building. You guys read the letter in the packet. That's the one thing that I did make sure was in there, even though I went a little memo light this week due to the move and just being incredibly busy. But I do welcome the members of the congregation. They've been great. They met with Jeff, Patricia, Mel, and I a week ago. Jeff and I were able to tour the church after. It is a beautiful, old school New England church. I got immediate ideas of community center, cultural center, moving the historical artifacts over there, potentially updating into a commercial kitchen to have something that the town does not have, the ability to have functions that can be all in one space. But I open the floor to you all. This is your community, and that's it. Yes, Peter?
Just, what are the current maintenance costs on that building right now?
They said not high, but they're also not pushing it. If, like, for what they do, the several,
Services?
services a year, it does not take a lot to manage the facility.
Their major expense is heat, oil.
Yeah, I was gonna go there. It's heated by oil, all winter long,
Well, they have to be able to keep it so the pipes don't freeze,
well, keep it at 50 or whatever.
so, yeah.
Yeah,
But
there is-
that's basically the expense.
Well, if you're not
The
using,
building,
if
that's
you're not
it.
using it, you can bleed the pipes.
Well, if you don't use
Let
it
it
at all,
sit,
but
yeah.
then we wouldn't be able to use it, so that would kind of be
Yeah.
cause there's Christmas stuff that, like, there's a concert band that's free that I would
Wouldn't it be,
imagine still be
I mean,
there.
just in my opinion, wouldn't it be better to look to a historical, site, in a business, either the Historical Society of Hubbardston or the state to,
No, look what they did with our pond. God, being blunt, like, you give that to the state, it'll fall to shit.
no, it'd be under historical
Yeah,
guidance.
it'll still.
It already is.
It already
It's under
is.
a
Yeah, it's a
historical.
well, it has a, restriction on it.
Yeah, but,
Yes,
I-
go ahead.
The church is on the National Historical
Yeah,
Society, registry now.
Registry.
There are historical restrictions that
Right.
got put on when we got the, grant from the Mass Historic.
Mhm.
And the town has a historical restriction on it.
It's
You
tied
got
up.
It's, plus the clock is the town clock is upstairs, so.
Yeah.
And you can't get funding?
Well, part of the thing is, once we get to be a town meeting hall and not a church, you open up to more
Yeah.
grants because you get people who says, well, you can't.
Separation church of state, they don't wanna have state funds going to a church.
It would be our intent to return it to its original name, I believe, First Town Meeting Hall.
Can't
First meeting house.
First Meeting House.
Meeting
First
house.
house.
Can't the church just do that?
No.
Where
it's
we'd
We'd
a
still be a
small-
church.
For a church.
Well, we would
No,
still,
that you would take yourself off as a church.
The church is also having a hard time, the congregation is not many people at this point, and there are financial boundaries that they're having trouble getting over. They're aging, and it is becoming a much smaller congregation. So the offer to the town was seemingly the best opportunity for them at this time, because should they have gone to sell it, the town would have, all sorts have been in the way. Like, it's just so intermingled, like the town owns the clock and there's questions about the boundaries and,
Lot 1 and Lot 2,
Yeah.
yeah, who's what.
Right,
And
but if it is,
we're
if it's
in-
historically, a historic building, is, my question is there federal or state funding if they take their name off the building
yes,
and
we're
make?
going to apply for every grant under the sun, should the.
Yeah, but the town shouldn't, I don't know, I don't think the town should, in my opinion, the town should take on a task. It's an old building, takes a lot of money to keep an old house, in the upkeep. Historically, I think there should be money out there for it.
See, I
Maybe
think
not
we
as a
should.
church.
I'm gonna differ with you completely. I think we should take it over because it has so much historical significance.
Mhm.
It is a part of our town, and who better to go after that grant money and care for it other than the town? You put it into a third party or because it would go up for sale, if it could even be sold because of all the
Right.
hurdles and everything, it could turn into a big shit show, and then we would be standing there going, what the
But
hell
is
did
it
we do?
gonna, what are we gonna use it, we can't, you have to find out if the building's worthy to be saved.
The building is worthy to be saved.
Yeah, there's nothing,
Yeah.
like, it's got some
Not
ceiling issues.
The main sanctuary is in incredible shape.
It's got some
This is-
plaster.
When we were in it, it had been the first time that I was in there, and I
Yeah.
couldn't get over how, I mean, I was expecting very different when I walked in that
Cobwebs
room,
and
and then it
spiders.
just, unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah,
So it's,
that would be my concern, is how
Well, that
much,
would
if
be
we're-
something that we'd have professionally
Looked at, yes.
reviewed, right?
And it would be my intent, should the town accept this transfer, to set up something akin to the library trustees, so that there is a entity that has ownership of it and values it, whether that be a community organization or a historical-based organization or a member of a number of different things, just put an entity on the task, so that we have assistance with grant writing, there's 10 sets of eyes keeping an eye on it,
And it would go to a town vote.
it would go to a town vote, yes.
The year was 1723,
1770.
73, okay, thank you.
So what exactly are we doing here tonight for this?
All I want is a vote of acceptance in principle, like the select board and the finance committee, or declination, or declining in principle. But to move forward, and once again, this is just a time usage type of vote, because I don't want to figure out how to transfer a historic church if then the warrant gets to the select board and the town and the finance committee and they go, we really can't afford a church right now, like, it's a great idea, but no, so I'm just.
Well, we wouldn't be buying a church.
No, it'd be handed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in addition, they have yet to say exactly how much. There would be a small but notable donation of the remainder of their trust fund as well.
To be like a little
A
safety.
buffer to get through the first
Natural
year.
care.
Yeah.
Would it still be used as a church?
No.
No,
No, we do.
No, it has to be
So
dissolved.
your services would be and have to move to another location.
Right.
We
Well,
could
it's,
potentially
well,
have a
it's
conversation.
their intent to dissolve
Okay.
the congregation,
right.
and it will no longer exist as an organized congregation. So it's not like they're gonna go to another place, I mean,
No.
because they have so few, they can't maintain it.
Yeah.
So, and they're not trying to make a dime on it, they strongly, and I happen to support it too, the historical importance to us in the town, that it just,
So it would go
we
back
should
to
be
a
in charge
meeting
of it.
house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
And
We could
That's
still,
different.
yeah, and we could do things, if there's still the donation of that brass band,
I'll
because
get
that's
you.
technically not a church thing. It's, you know, the that they have at the
Right.
Christmas time.
Mhm.
If that could go on, we could have that there. We could have different things there and not be just, oh, it's an empty building that we're just paying a heat. It would be
And
used.
we're currently keeping hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of historical artifacts
In the
in the
library.
third floor of a library.
That no one can
Lots.
visit.
No one can see.
So the children used to come over from the Hubbardston Center School to go upstairs to the third floor to look at the artifacts. It was a museum at one point, but
Right.
because there's no second form of egress, because that fire escape is falling off the side of the building,
Mhm.
the kids can't go up there anymore. This would give access for the Historical Society to have programs and have a museum that the kids then can come over and visit, or come from the high school, middle school when they do their project to visit. Because our town, as a state historical previous life, our town is considered on the National Register as an antique town. We were established before 1776.
Right.
So we have other opportunities handed to us, like the Smithsonian the past year came to us and said, we would love for you to be able to host, you know, you guys help shape America. We couldn't do it because we didn't have the space. I had to turn down the Smithsonian because we didn't have the space. If we had the church over there, we could have absolutely taken care of. And the Smithsonian would have paid us to have the articles on exhibit.
Right. Okay.
And
Mary, she's had a hand
So
up.
Barry's old town hall, because they use the Henry Woods building as their actual offices, they charge a nominal fee for you to go in and actually utilize their historic town hall. It's like $25 or $50. They do have a church that goes in, has services, that you can sign up to utilize the space as a function room, and they have programs such as that happen as well for, again, a small fee, so that they can recoup a little bit, but you can go in and utilize the space.
And didn't they tell us
Yeah.
there that the school also, when it's in, has to be evacuated or something, the children have been brought over there because they have to be a certain distance away from the building, and that's where they've been taking the elementary school kids
So if it's like
Currently-
into that
So-
building.
you can't
Can I-
even leave them outside.
Chris?
So are we voting to do this, or are we voting for you to pursue more information about doing this?
Pursue more information and bring it forward to town meeting.
Okay.
So you're voting in principle to accept the transfer, in principle.
Yeah,
Based
'cause
on
the
your
ulti-
findings.
Because the ultimate decision is a town meeting.
Town meeting,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So we're just voting to go, move forward on it.
Okay.
So can we bring it to a motion to do that?
I'd like to make that motion to move forward with, the property transfer proposal of the First Parish Church.
And accept the transfer in principle.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. Okay, is there any further discussion or questions on this? Now, this is both of the committees, yeah. We'll be voting on this, right? Then, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, opposed, abstained, motion carried.
Thank you guys so much. Give our sincerest thank you to the rest of your congregation, and I look
recess
forward
for
to
5
working with
minutes.
you over the next few months to bring this to town meeting and hopefully even further after that.
Okay, we have a motion to come out of the committee as a whole and take a 5-minute recess before moving into open session.
Second.
Seth, you wanna have your?
Wait, who made the first? I'm so sorry. Okay.
Motion adjourned.
Thank you, thank you,
All right,
finance
thank you,
people.
Thank you.
Is it me or is it cold in here?
It's
It's
cold.
freezing. It's freezing.
Question. First thing we'll do is, I'm gonna take it out. Is there anyone here for open session? I'm not skipping away.
No, you do whatever you want to do.
Okay, so seeing none, we'll go to you for your
Okay.
announcements.
All right, now that nobody's listening anymore.
Everybody's
We have excise taxes due March 13th, so, which is coming up, that's next week, so you gotta pay your car excise to Mary. Make sure, don't be late, cause you'll get a nice little late bill, and nobody likes that. March 14th, 15th, and 16th is Oliver. It's the play that the Hubbardston Theater is putting on at the Hubbardston Center School. There's multiple showings, starts Friday the 14th, I believe there's 2 on Saturday, and I believe there's 1 or 2 on Sunday, I think it might be 1 on Sunday. So you can buy tickets through their Facebook, they have a link for sale, check that out. March 15th, the Hubbardston Rod and Gun is having their meat raffle at 7 p.m. Again, that's March 15th, the Hubbardston Rod and Gun, 7 p.m. meat raffle. There is coming up, I just heard from Jesse, the Parks is doing the Easter egg hunt on April 12th is the day at 10 a.m. More to follow on that, but right now it's April 12th, the Easter egg hunt. It will be most likely at the rec field, 10 a.m. April 19th, which is the day before Easter, is Keep Hubbardston Beautiful Day. The seniors printed in their newsletter, I believe the 20th, cause they grabbed some stuff from last year. So just correct the date, it's the 19th, the day before Easter, is Keep Hubbardston Beautiful. The Boy Scouts will be doing a scrap metal, recycling. The Girl Scouts will have their bottle and can drive, and I'll be there collecting trash. I'll have bags if you need a bag to go collect trash, but yeah, pick up the trash from the road around your house, from Main Street, wherever you want to, and bring it to me, and we will get rid of it. And then we have, June 7th is the Hubbardston Fair, so I'm taking applications for that, and that's about all I got for right now.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements or reports?
Yes,
Tricia?
the deadline to register for, trees to plant, for your children is March 15th. So far, the library has collected over 49, registrations for trees.
Do you know what kind of trees you're giving out? I know that
They
they're
said they're
natives,
gonna, native species, they're gonna announce them on April 15th. So it'll be anything from fir trees to, believe it or not, apple trees.
Where are they planting them?
Kids are receiving the trees on Earth Day on April 22nd at a special story time.
So they can
And they
plant
can
them
plant them in their yard, wherever they may want here in Hubbard, in their yard, or if it's grandma and grandpa's house, like grandma and grandpa's house, so whoever. Then Saturday story time, March 22nd, for those select board members interested. Brick book paint night. Why do I always make these things so complicated to say? It's an adult program where you will be painting bricks to look like books for your garden. That is on March 21st, and D&D sessions for March are March 14th and the 28th. That's it.
That's it? All right, anything else? Okay, let's move to new business, and hopefully it won't take too long. The first item is to open the annual town meeting warrant. Basically, all we need is a motion to open the June 2nd, 2025 annual town meeting warrant and accept the warrant articles until April 7th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Okay, first, Katie.
Second, Heather.
Second, Heather.
Motion has been made and second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Yes, opposed, abstained? Motion carried.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Oh, okay. Watershed activities, basically, support for
Printed out the letter for
would you like to talk on that, or just, we're basically a motion for the Hubbardston Select Board to authorize Nate to submit a letter in support of the RWAC's request of reinstating the vehicle with access to Reuben Walker and Prison Camp roads.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any questions or comments on that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's taking forever, so. We
Why,
went to the meeting.
Chris,
Why was Access ever,
that's the, that was the state.
Yeah.
They,
So remember when we
Shut
talked
them
about it
down.
last year and Peter and I went to the meeting and there was this whole big to-do about what you could do and couldn't do, and for some reason you can drive 30 horses with a permit, but you can't swim. And it was about open swimming, and like that whole deal ended up creating some unintended consequences that the watershed committee would like changed.
And a lot of it had to do with, they were preventing people with disabilities from accessing these trails because they couldn't drive in and park at the trailhead wheelchair in, and that's the biggest thing, I think.
Well, that and the whole fact, if you're trying to hike in, it makes a lot of it not accessible anymore.
Right, so they were trying to decrease foot traffic, and they weren't having any part.
and Nate provided us with the draft of the letter that would be sent, so we have that, we have a motion for that, and second, any further discussion or
yeah,
question?
further discussion, I guess I don't understand, there's parking lots for people to go park their cars and then go hiking on these trails that have been closed by the state, and now we wanna reopen them? What are these roads? What are these trails?
Well, let me pull up the letter from it.
Well, the
I got
ones
the
we're
letter right
talking,
in front of me, but,
the ones we're talking about, Reuben Walker and the prison camp,
Yeah, so
off of Intervale, that's the prison camp road,
In
right?
Rutland, yeah.
they've
Yeah.
always been open.
Yeah.
They've decided to now close them. They
They're-
were open
And
to the public
a lot of
because it's
public-
to
public lands.
drive your cars down?
Yep.
Remember the day you met me when I was going jeeping? That's where I went jeeping. And it's in the next town over, and there are these open paths that are open during the summertime. They're closed right now, they're closed during mud season, but it's a beautiful ride. You go out there, there's ruins of old buildings.
Prison,
The
old
prison.
Yeah.
World War II.
And it's actually really, really cool, and to not allow people out there would be a shame. And the roads are already incredibly driven on, and
why was it ever done, do we know?
because of that plan that they put out last year.
It was a state thing.
It was all part of the prison originally, and DCR came in and decided, I don't know if it's because they don't want foot traffic in there, they want us to do maintenance in there, they want us to maintain it.
But this was like an offshoot of that discussion about what,
Yeah.
this kind of swimming and not,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then these are all,
Didn't I read in the correspondence you sent, Nate, something about, you know, the biggest focus was the restriction of when the roads were open?
Yeah.
How it used to be till like December 31st, but now they're only open from like April till October or something?
Yeah, it's very, very limited now.
yeah.
So they just keep closing off lands that are public lands, is the problem.
DCR overstepping their boundaries.
So less money to the towns and
Less
less ability
access
to
to
access.
the-
Access
Yeah.
to hiking trails and
Right.
other.
It connects to the back end of the Berry Falls Dam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
So if people can't go on it, then the towns don't get paid to, is that
wouldn't
how?
go that far.
No, it's not that they won't get paid, it's just that it's the people's land,
Yeah, it's,
all of our land, right?
Right.
And you're restricting
it's
it,
the taxpayers' land,
yes.
yes.
And if people wanna go out there and hunt or whatever,
Fish,
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 hike, all that
otherwise you gotta
stuff.
hike in
Yeah.
how far?
Yep.
so the motion
Excellent.
as it stands is simply to be able to submit the letter.
So who would be responsible for emergency services if something went wrong on these
Rutland.
trails?
The
Well,
same
it
people
usually
that
becomes
were,
regional.
yeah, the same as it was before.
What was it before?
Whoever's gets the call and whoever they dispatch
four.
out, yeah, depending on where it's located, because one side's in Rutland, one side's in Hubbardston, one side's in Barry, depending on which road you're talking about.
In my honest opinion, the town appoints these two individuals to represent their interests on the Ware Rivershed Water Advisory Committee. Both of those individuals asked for the select board to write this letter. So, I didn't really put too much thought into it after both members asked.
And DCI didn't really give a reason for why they were doing it.
Didn't really show too much care across the board.
Right. I mean, they had their top DCI guy there.
And there's a lot of feeling for this
Yeah, there's a lot of
on the
pushback.
part of the general public.
Yes, sir, there is.
So anything else on this before we vote? Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried, okay? The Curtis Rec Field parking request, you wanna just quickly just tell them what it is?
Anne Goway, or Gowie, would like
Go
to
away.
park her daughter's wedding's guests at the park. The fire chief, police chief, and Parks Commission chair have no problem with it. It's not something we've done in the past, as far as I know, but I could be mistaken. And Peter's making a face, but it's up to you guys.
So when I've seen this in other towns, you know, people would be like, hey, can we use the town hall parking lot or what have you? I mean, it's generally public space, so as long as it's not prohibiting or restricting someone's ability to use the field, we don't really control it, right? We don't police it to the correspondence point, which is, you know, we're not protecting vehicles or securing them. I don't think there's anything for us to approve. I mean, we can say we don't object, but
Well,
that's
yeah.
about it.
The seniors use it when they
Yeah.
go on trips.
Yeah.
Folders empty.
My only concern would be if there's like soccer games going on all day. That
Soccer
might be a
games,
problem.
somebody who wants to bring their child to the playground, baseball games, soccer, they play baseball in the backfield.
Do we have the date of the wedding?
May 18th, and when I say
And is that a Saturday or a Sunday?
it is, let me
Saturday, I
check. It is a small number of guests. It's not.
I thought there was 24,
I
28
heard-
cars.
Yeah, no,
That's
it was
all.
more than, no.
That fill that parking lot.
Does it make sense that they
May
reach out to
18th,
Kelly
sorry.
instead?
That's what I was thinking.
It is a Sunday.
Sunday, but they play soccer and
British
baseball
Rec
on Sundays.
parking,
Most of the soccer's on Saturdays.
It is?
Yeah,
Yep.
but I don't know how long it goes.
Sunday's pretty much a quiet day.
Sunday's a beautiful day to go to the park because it's.
What day is it, a Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Okay, it is a Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
35 to 40 cars max,
That's, is that, can
from 2 PM to 10.
yeah, it's,
Can,
that's, I don't think it'll handle that many cars, will it?
Yeah,
It's
well,
not our
yeah.
problem.
It is our
It's-
problem, because it's a town-owned property.
it is, but I mean, it's public parking.
Right, it's public parking,
Like,
free
we
public
don't,
parking.
and we don't have little parking meters there. If we did, you know,
Right.
we could set them up once a
Yeah,
year
you're
for a one-time
restricting
event.
Can
the
we run some out
people's
there?
ability to use the park by not being able to park
I
there.
mean,
If they wanna use the park that day, they get up early and they get a spot.
How many
Why
parking
should they,
spaces?
why should they deviate for somebody to hold a private wedding?
Cause she's a public taxpayer, and it's a
I-
public parking lot, she has as much right to that parking
Well,
lot
then
as
why
anybody
is she asking
else.
for permission?
Cause she's
Because
being nice
She's
about it, letting
nice.
us know that she's
People-
gonna
they
fill up
could've
the
done
lot.
it and not asked.
Right.
Everybody be like, where do all these cars come from?
So I'm the only one that kinda not on board with this, I
I have no
guess?
objection to it,
I have no objection to it.
so.
Well, I don't think there's anything we can approve or disapprove because it's
If
not.
it's public parking and we have no control over it, unless, how's the recreation people
That would be
feel?
the one that would, honestly, Parks Department would be the one to.
Well, then let them make the decision.
Jesse had no opposition to it,
Okay,
but
well,
Neither
But
to the police or fly.
But I mean, again, it's, how would you know, right? Like, if I park my car
Right.
there and I go ride down 68, you don't know that I'm riding down 68, or if, you know, I used it as
That you're
a,
not at the park, that you're not
a
walking around.
carpool.
Mhm.
right? I could have parked there and Katie could have picked me up.
the only thing I thought of was, I understand she's a taxpayer, but by parking however many cars there is given the ability for another taxpayer to not use that field at 3 in the afternoon that day.
Yeah, but what happens if soccer's there and I drive by and there's no parking spaces for me and my kids? Like, I don't kick excuse me, soccer people, you guys may not all be taxpayers, I am, can you please vacate my parking spot? Like, it's a first come, first served basis. Like, and I don't think, you know,
But
There's a human
But there's-
in the other,
yeah.
in the room we forgot about because he's in
Oh,
a
I'm
closet.
sorry, yes.
What happens if you just have them park over by the big shed over there?
In the grass.
Yep.
No, that I don't like,
That would
because
dig
then
up the
they're going
ground.
around,
They,
you know.
well, yeah,
Especially if
it's-
it rains or whatever.
some of their cars may be
Well,
loose.
there's a risk of people walking on the walking track. There shouldn't be cars
Yeah, yeah.
driving
Unless you're
on
having
that
a
walking
large
track.
event like
Right,
the
and it's
field day or the
patrolled and it's
Hubbardston Fair or
maintained
something
and
like that,
it's-
that's,
being serviced.
yeah.
And
I understand what you're saying though, to try to keep them off the lot. But,
and it's on, you know, it's on a Sunday.
and honestly, if, and I hate to say this cause I don't want to encourage this because the business next door, but when there's soccer and baseball and all that craziness anyway,
they park
they
over
do
there,
park in Kelly's parking
and
lot.
she doesn't really say
Well, no,
anything.
because it's usually after hours, it's not
Yeah.
when her business is open, and
Yeah.
most people stay towards
Well,
that
that's-
side and don't.
That's private property and we
Yep,
shouldn't even
no.
entertain that suggestion.
I-
Because
yeah.
it's not our private property.
No, that would be different, but I'm just saying, people have a tendency to park.
Did
Kelly's
Ann give
usually
you
pretty
the
reasonable
time in
about it.
which the cars would be parked there, Nate?
2 to
Yeah,
10.
2
2
to
to
10.
10.
2 to 10? Okay.
Well, let's see how we feel. Any further discussion? Okay. In favor of approving the request? All in favor?
Well, I don't think we can,
I thought,
I don't think we can approve the request. I mean, I would make a motion that we don't have any objection.
I would like, in addition to that non-objection, for Ann to reach out to Chief Kuchar and let him know when that non-objected action is going to be going on, and to remind him, so
And
that.
we've also got to let her know that it's gonna be first come, first served.
Yeah.
These are not gonna be reserved spots for her.
Yeah.
She's, you know, we have no problem with her parking her cars there, but we're certainly not gonna reserve.
I'd like to make a motion that Nate communicates on behalf of the board to all of the relevant parties in this matter, sustaining the board's non-objection.
okay. Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passed. Finally, 48 Gardner Road change orders. Nate, you wanna just go through that quickly for us?
There are 2 change orders, they grand total $6,200. I've learned more about soffits in the last 6 months than I ever have in my entire life. It's the post right above the fire department garage bay and an issue with some soffits. It's $6,200, maybe a little more.
There you go.
The,
Around the door? The bay door?
yeah, around the bay
Okay.
door.
Oh, because they had the door like all weird, right?
Yeah, the post has been significantly, damaged.
And I'm hoping that this is it, because they should be done really soon.
I hope so.
So you have 2 change orders, so one is for $2,254.68, that's post and screws and labor. And the second one is a total of $4,232.69, and that consists of wood and nails and labor.
The total is $6,487.37.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, oh, never mind.
I said I wasn't gonna ask you about questions, but I lied. Question. What is it, $6,000?
Yes.
So where in the vision is that part of the building when it comes to the future?
Part of it.
Cause weren't you talking about maybe extending it or maybe making that
I can only speak
at the present?
to, yeah.
I
and-
understand.
and-
Fix it now.
And I'm not an architect, and
But-
Derek has.
So why would you, so my thought is, why would you put 6 to 8 grand into it right now because of a
Whoa.
change?
Okay, go ahead, yeah. I thought you said 68, right?
No, six
Jump out of his seat.
6 to, whatever it is, 6,000, 7,000, everything starts off at 6. and
60, call it 65 around.
6,500 into a building, if, you know, we don't know if it's gonna get approved down the road, but let's say now it gets approved down the road, now you wanna knock it down. I mean,
We're not gonna knock it down. It needs to be weather tight now.
We're protecting our asset.
okay,
Tricia?
thank you.
So the reason that, so the post has to be replaced no matter what because it's affecting the door. And
So it's a
that's-
structural post.
That is a
Thank
structural
you.
post.
That's
The
what I need
soffit's
to
really
know.
important because if you've been over to 48 Gardner Road right now, if you go out any door or any awning, you are currently getting a shower. The soffit and the gutters are the most important part. We gotta get that water away from the building. Sitting water in New England is not your friend.
I didn't know the post was structural, so.
So,
Yeah, it's okay.
so to Peter's point, is this something that down the road would be subject to change? Do we know that? Do we not know
We
that?
do not know that.
Okay.
The intent of the structural and weather-tight project is to keep it that way. So I would,
So you basically need to extend the life of the current building that's there by
Well,
these modifications.
where is it on the building? Where is it?
the post is on the back end where the garage bay is. It's the post right above. It's a structural post right above the garage that we're using every single day with $1 million worth of ambulances in it.
So if everything goes according to plan, is this part of the building that we would change to house fire trucks and whatnot?
Possibly, but I don't have the engineering plan at all yet, so I can't speak to what is or is not possible.
I mean, we're talking about a very small chunk of change in the grand scheme of things for the whole building.
And regardless, it's structure,
Yeah, but
correct?
nobody likes flushing money down the toilet either.
Yeah, I don't think that
No.
amounts to the issue, you know, if
Yeah,
it's
it's the-
$6,800 and
Right.
it's gonna be there for
Right.
6 months, you know,
It's the
that's a little
thought
discouraging.
of
If it's
spending it-
$6,800 and it's
spending
gonna
it
be
and then
there
tearing it down in
for
5
12
years.
years, I've got no problem with it.
Yeah.
But we also don't want everything to cave in on the ambulance in the meantime.
I understand.
No, and we can't predict when phase 2 or 3,
Correct.
if ever,
Yeah,
again.
I understand
So
this.
we need to make phase 1.
There's pros and cons about fixing it,
Work,
but
yeah.
I hear you.
Okay, anything else? Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the change orders for 48 Gardner Road renovation project for a total of $6,487.37, and authorize the town administrator to execute said documents.
Motion made, is there a
Second.
second? Any further questions or
Yeah, we got the
discussion
money
on
to
that?
do that?
What was that?
You're not gonna hurt, no, never mind.
Okay,
Exactly, if there's the money's there.
Yep.
okay.
They said yes.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried.
It's out of the pool, but like, that's not coming out of the operating expenses or anything like that. And 48 Gardner Road, the revolving fund has been a mess, cause one of the units has spent more in damages than they have in paying lease payments.
Yeah, stop flushing things.
Okay, moving on, Peter?
Yes. Oh, I would like to make a motion to show the select board's appreciation for the move that y'all did on that Friday. And a lot of people put in a lot of their own time also on Saturday in packing up and and unloading and painting and
Painting and wallpapering. and-
wallpapering and mudding around windows, and so I would just like to make a motion that, to direct the town administrator to, print up letters of appreciation for all involved, to include yourself, but I mean, that could come from us, obviously, to appreciate every individual involved in that. And I think
Funny
it
to-
should be put into their,
I was gonna bring
File.
up personnel
into
file
their
letters.
files.
Alright, I'll have those drafted.
A
for
motion has
next
been
meeting.
made, is there a second?
Second.
And second. Any questions or discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes,
Yes.
opposed? Motion carried.
Thank-
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, any other old business? None that I'm aware of. Your report, TA report?
I've talked a lot, so I'm
He's done.
I'm good, but I was going to thank all of the staff. We have some really amazing people, and the last week has been long, but everybody handled it well. We're by no means done unpacking or
Nope, but it
anything.
looks like you chance of it, it's like the illusion, like, nothing has happened, you just magically picked up and plopped over there. Even though there was no magic, we
Well, I
were
went
all
in there
there, but-
today to pay my excise tax, and it was the first time I'd seen the office with
Isn't it nice?
Mary's office and
Oh, it's-
everything with it, and I said, it looks like you've been here forever.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks like you've.
Mary-
I
and-
still have
So, yeah.
boxes in my basement from when I moved in
I
my
mean,
house 20
you
years
see the
ago.
floor she did?
Huh?
The flooring that she did?
In the
Well, she-
kitchen,
yeah,
no,
she
you
did
don't
the
get to see
wallpaper.
that
She did
space,
the
but I
wallpaper.
can take you back there,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
The
Awesome.
kitchen
They all
was
did
in
a
some
good
pretty
job.
tough
Yeah.
shape and, Mary and her husband did a really fantastic
Yeah.
job.
And I donated an air fryer.
You
Okay.
did.
There you go.
Everybody's been
Use.
donating things and time, and Patricia literally worked 50 extra hours the last couple of weeks, and
And a case of Mountain Dew.
Way
It was more
above-
than just a case.
Way above and beyond the
Truckload.
Call of Duty
It's
for
more than a
everybody,
case.
really.
and it's not just me and Hunter. I'm throwing wood downstairs that I shouldn't be.
Hunter's done a lot of work.
Put so many holes in the walls.
No, we didn't
Don't
do
time
that.
'em out.
We didn't do that.
Okay. All right then, matters not reasonably anticipated, we have one. Oh no, we're not doing that
We
one
have
yet.
not.
So, does anyone else have
At the
anything?
next meeting, there will likely be discussion of that if it hasn't sold, and the auction that was sort of on your agenda for this time. Mary and I did not have the opportunity to do the due diligence on that it deserves. A person on Streeter Road has approached the town to purchase the town-owned lots on Streeter Road. So Mary and I will be bringing that to your attention, but we figured if we were going to be having an auction, we might as well auction off as many parcels as you guys deem appropriate. So we're going to bring a list with justifications and descriptions forward to see if any at all, including the Streeter Road parcels, are interested in being auctioned off or sold or anything like that, just because the interest was there.
So I just have one request, if you don't mind. I would like to, when you do get a list, may I get a copy so I can drive around and look at these lots?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know, maybe I
A
just
lot
doing it.
of
A
them
lot of them are
are
landlocked.
landlocked.
Oh, they are? So I
Kinda
can't
Yeah.
get to them.
But kind of like next to your house, where it would be meaningful to you,
Yeah.
but it's not meaningful to the general
Everybody
public.
else.
Like, there's
Yeah.
a number of those that we're gonna have to look into.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Okay,
Are we gonna have, appraised values?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
all right, public press, nothing, could we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.